Hello, listeners. My name is Greg.
And I'm Jessie.
And this is Spoilers Are Good, Actually. It's a podcast where we will revisit some of our favorite shows and talk about how knowing the ending affects the experience the second time through.
Today we're going to be starting Avatar: The Last Airbender, and we're going to discuss the first two episodes, The Boy in the Iceberg and The Avatar Returns, together as one kind of season premiere.
The format of this podcast was inspired by the Game of Thrones podcast, Storm of Spoilers.
Basically, what we're going to do is start relatively spoiler-free so that if anyone does care about spoilers, they can still, get a little bit of our thoughts and discussion on the episode in particular, and then move later on into the spoiler zone where anything is fair game, and that is the original series, the comics, probably Korra, in this case, anything in the Avatar universe. Yeah, so we just really quickly wanted to introduce ourselves. Again, my name is Jessie, and this is my husband, Greg. We live in the Washington, D.C. area, and we are just two 20-somethings who really love animation, and we really especially love Avatar: The Last Airbender, as I'm sure a lot of you do if you clicked on this podcast.
Yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender is... it's far and away my favorite TV show, I think. I watched it, I want to say since I was like 10. Oh my god. I don't know how old this show is, but...
2005?
Oh god. I was around 10. And I remember I watched like one of the first few episodes, and I was like, no, this sucks. I'm going to watch Rocket Power. And then I came in on a different episode later on, and it was really, really cool. And it ended up making me really interested in. It was kind of a gateway into anime for me. It was a show that really got me into martial arts. It was a show that made me really kind of be very interested in a lot of Eastern cultures, and it taught me a lot. Even before I realized it, about storytelling and character development and how you would want to make and frame characters and kind of have them progress. I
also watched the show when it was originally airing in elementary and middle school. Unfortunately, it did kind of line up with a bit of a rebellious phase where I decided that cartoons were for kids and I was too cool for this. So I never finished it until I was in high school, but as soon as I watched the whole series through as a teenager, I was obsessed. And both of us, I think at this point, have probably watched the show at least 10 times
I've only
minimum.
Watched it twice. I don't even know why I don't know why I'm lying about that. I've watched it many times. We've both watched it.
We've seen it many, many times. We have an experience often where we'll be watching an episode and Greg is just quoting the lines right before they happen. It's a little uncanny. But all that to say, we really love this show and we're really excited to be able to talk about it, not just amongst ourselves like we already do for hours at a time, but hopefully with some of y'all. So thanks for going on this journey with us.
Mm-hmm. The next note that we have is on, I guess, content warnings. We're good, wholesome folk who who understand that sometimes people click on things on the internet that are not good and wholesome. And so we would like to let you know now, we will say cuss words. This is kind of your last warning before I start throwing out the shits and fucks.
Essentially, we do feel it needs to be said. Avatar is a kid's show, but we are not children. We are adults, and we do sometimes say fuck. Other than that, we won't be going into any darker or more adult themes than you see in the show, but we're also not interested in censoring ourselves. So I would say about PG-13.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind if you're a parent watching this with your small child or
listening to this with your small child.
Right.
Yeah, no. The big point is just, you either need to be a rebellious child or just someone that can listen to us saying bad words without it being a big issue.
Great.
All right.
So I guess it's time to start discussing the episodes.
Pause for future Jesse to be able to like edit in a nice little sound right here. Okay, great.
So what really stands out to me about these first 2 episodes is just how clean the character development is. Like, every line, almost, for the full first 2 episodes tells us so much about the world building and the characters. And yes, some of the exposition is a little heavy-handed at times, but for the most part, it's just, like, really dense as far as all the information that we're getting, but at the same time, it manages to set this super light tone that we see throughout the whole series. And that's immediately one of the big strengths of Avatar, is balancing those two, and we see it right away.
Yeah, I mean, this is a kid's show. It's playing on Nickelodeon, and it's kind of a weird thing that they're doing at this point. Like, Avatar at the time and even now is kind of a very different kind of show than most of the other Nickelodeon fare. It was like Rocket Power, Rugrats, SpongeBob, things like that. This is a serialized show, and they're going to like have to, from the beginning, kind of give you some exposition, tell you what these characters are about and what they're motivated by, and like what they really like want to do. And so from the beginning, we see this Sokka guy. He's kind of a shit, bit of a sexist. And his sister is the hopeful one. We've got this child who's very happy-go-lucky.
My first note from the episode is LMAO 10-second in Katara's hope. It's like the second line about her.
She's the heart of the group. We see that Zuko is very intense and angry, but he is motivated very deeply to find the Avatar. Iroh tells him in a beautifully like very like obvious exposition dump that like he got exiled and he's gonna find the Avatar, but the Avatar hasn't been seen in 100 years, and like Iroh takes the time to say all of this, and it really stuck out to me just because I'm saying beautifully more as a joke. It's really like apparent that this is here not for Zuko's benefit, but for like the audience. Hey guys, you need to know this guy right here, he was exiled. He's looking for this other person. And this other person hasn't been seen in so long that like old man here doesn't think it's possible. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed I enjoy seeing how shows kind of introduce their world and their characters and their elements to everybody. And Avatar doesn't do it perfectly. I don't think anyone ever does, but it does it in a way that really gives you a lot without you realizing that you're learning a lot at once. Right?
Yep.
My first note was the music hits in like all caps. Yep. And I'm remembering that because like, so the intro that we have is one where a girl's voice, we find out it's Katara, tells a lot about the 100-Year War and how the Avatar hasn't been seen in 100 years. And, the Fire Nation attacked. My brother and I were left alone when the men of the village left to go fight in the war. And then it just like at the end of it, when the show's about to start, the like music swells and it does that da 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 da. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah. One other point that I found really compelling about these first couple of episodes is how much they kind of shove it in your face over and over again that these main characters are children. And it also really establishes the dynamic between Katara and Sokka. I think at some point Katara has a line when she's penguin sledding, where she says, like, oh, I haven't done this since I was a kid. And Aang just responds, you're still a kid.
Yeah.
And it's just, that exchange tells you so much.
Yeah. There was also another moment where between Katara and Sokka. Mm-hmm. It's when she breaks Aang out of the ice. Mm-hmm. When she's like, I've been here, doing laundry and doing all the chores for you while you've been off playing soldier. She's been the mother. She's been the caretaker. She's been the caregiver this whole time while Sokka's been off, quote-unquote, playing soldier. And we see what that looks like. He's trying to
so sad.
Rally a group of, 8-9-year-olds, if that, into the, half-assed defense of this 20-person village. And he is the oldest male that we see, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
like
easily by a lot.
And he, he's got these snow fort type watchtowers that fall down every once in a while, and it's all played for laughs, and that's a testament to the lighthearted attitude of the entire show. But it is really sad if you think about it, even a little bit more than the show really wants you to.
Right, there's a huge focus on gender roles. Mm-hmm. Clearly, we learn in the Water Tribe, but both Katara and Sokka get shoved into these huge roles. They just both have to fill their parents' shoes because they're both gone, and Katara does all the mothering things, and Sokka feels like he has to be the father and the man of the house, and not just the house, the man of the whole village.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just the weight that is on his shoulder, that he is feeling like he's the only one who can protect them.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, it's so serious and so heavy in the way that a lot of the best themes in this show are.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that these guys they do have these very adult type roles, even though they are children. But then their grandmother kind of supports them going off and being more, doing more. When Aang gets captured by Zuko, Sokka and Katara we have to go and save him, and Gran has I think she gives them a pack of stuff or something like that.
Some supplies.
She instead of we know that since it's a show, it's a kid's show, and it's this is the way the plot was looking from the very beginning. Not surprising that these two would go onto the ship and try to save him. But these are the two closest to adult age people in this very small village. Everybody else has gone to war, or will not be going to war, or will not go to war for a long time. Right? That's everybody. Mm-hmm. They are about to, by themselves, go onto a fully manned Fire Nation military vessel. And we just saw that Sokka does not stand a chance against the head officer of that ship. Gran saw all of this and knows all of this, and she still gave them her blessing to do something that could get them killed.
Yeah, she really should not have let them go. But, thank God for her old lady omniscience, I guess.
Yeah.
Because where would we be without it? So, before we move into the spoiler section, we do want to introduce a bit that we're hoping to...
You doing the golden fuck?
The golden fuck.
We're doing the golden fuck.
Yeah, a bit that we want to do every episode that Greg has named the golden fuck.
The golden fuck.
From the premise that, if you're PG-13, as we are on this show, you get one fuck to say in that rating. So if you could put that one usage of the word fuck into the show, who would say it, when would they say it, and why? So basically, we're each going to nominate one time or one line, and then I guess just discuss which one we think is better. And if we can't decide, then maybe that will be up to y'all.
Yeah.
So one thing, though, we need to clarify, since we did watch 2 episodes at once, are we going to do
I only
one
have
for
one
each
golden
one?
fuck right now. I didn't think that hard, honestly.
Okay.
I only have one, and it's not that good, so I'm hoping that you did a better job than I did.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say my golden fuck.
Okay.
My
I have 2.
Oh, great. So my one and only golden fuck is not particularly good, but it is a moment that warrants a good solid fuck, and that is when Aang gets broken out of the iceberg. Aang does that really weird thing where he like sneezes and launches like 10 feet in the air, and then Appa's like, "Oh, Aang's sneezing, I'm sneezing too," and he sneezes a giant fucking slime glob of snot right onto Sokka, and it takes up half his body. At that point, anybody is more than justified in getting one good, strong fuck right out there.
That's a good nomination. I don't think that's as bad as you made it out to be.
I feel like there's no emotional weight there. It's just the fuck. I hate this.
That's true, but like sometimes the comedy is the weight that you need.
That's fair.
Right? Okay, so one of my 2 also gives it to Sokka. But it's at the moment where he's like standing at his watchtower in his war paint, and his little watchtower falls over. And he says, "Oh no." And I think that would be improved by him being able to say, "Oh fuck."
Isn't he right next to kids at that point? Or is that, like, is he like around the kids that he's trying to train in that moment?
I can't say for sure. But it's like the moment that Zuko's ship crashes through the ice, everything's falling down, and Sokka lets out one really, like, heavy, "Oh no."
Yeah.
So that's my first nomination. That one was from the second episode, actually, but since it was also Sokka, I wanted to say that one first. My second nomination from the very first episode is to Zuko. "I don't need any fucking calming tea, Uncle."
God, I actually love that one. It really, because that's what he wanted to say. That's what he wanted to tell his uncle, who was just like, "Hey, no, Zuko, don't worry about this 3-year exile and this impossible mission that you have. Sit down and drink tea with your old uncle."
Yeah,
I don't need fucking tea, Uncle.
I too hate being told to calm down. So I think, that's a pretty good place for it.
That one. Fuck my other one. I want that one.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I think I agree wholeheartedly with that.
That's good. Okay, so the winner of the Golden Fuck for Season 1, Episode 1 is Zuko. I think we should keep a tally.
Oh.
I would like to see...
Oh, Zuko gets the first Golden Fuck.
Yeah, I would like to see at the end of the season and at the end of the series who gets it the most times. I'm curious.
That sounds good.
Okay, so on that note, I think it's time to transition to the spoiler section.
Thank you, future Jesse, for putting in a beautiful noise right there.
Hopefully that was long enough for anyone who didn't want to be spoiled to leave. I don't know how many of y'all that will be, but for those of you who are still here, thank you. This is the part I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I mean, this is the part where all the kiddies are gone, we can actually talk. So, can we talk about how weird it is seeing them try to make Zuko scary? It's just...
He's so cute. He's trying so hard.
He's trying so hard, and he is not intimidating to anybody at all, because we know the shit that they deal with. We know who Zuko becomes. We know that Zuko's younger sister is magnitudes more intimidating and frightening. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that, we see this, escalation throughout the show, and Zuko at the beginning is small potatoes for Zuko, for the team, for everyone. Mm-hmm. This character, this person that Zuko's pretending to be, is not Zuko. We know that. He doesn't yet.
Iroh knows that.
Iroh knows that.
Oh, it's so funny. I just want to pinch his little cheeks. Like, oh, you're so cute and angry. God, I love him.
Yeah.
One of my favorite characters. I say that like he's not one of everyone's favorite characters.
Zuko is, I mean, like, we're going to talk about how much we love Zuko for a while. Also, I guess we should warn you now.
No.
We should inform you. We are openly and unapologetically Zutara shippers. And like that's just going to be a thing. We're not going to try to like make that kind of color the entire like podcast.
Yeah, I don't want to argue about ships.
Yeah, that's not going to be the thing. But that is our bias, and we do not apologize for it. Now that I've mentioned the romantic like subplots, you're going to hear Jesse sighing whenever they do Katang stuff. I'm sorry.
It's just Aang is like a little baby duck coming out of his egg and seeing his mom, and he's just gonna follow her around.
Yeah.
And somehow we're, I think, supposed to interpret that as romantic.
I mean, we're specifically referring to the first scene when Aang gets out of the iceberg. He, like, you know, the iceberg breaks, there's the light and everything. We see the silhouette of Aang, and then it goes to commercial break, comes back, and Aang faints and falls into Katara's arms, and he, like, wakes up, and the first thing he sees is, like, this halo of light in Katara's face. And I think it's supposed to be framed as romantic, but it can also just as easily be framed as a motherly, like, you know, seeing her son for the first time kind of thing. And, you know, we understand that, like, Katara takes on a motherly role within the group, but she is nobody's mother. She's nobody's mom. It's an interesting take. It's an interesting way for them to start off this thing that they, I assume, fully intend at this point. I don't know. To make a very fully romantic, like, thing.
It's just, I don't know. I tend to forget how much the show just jumps right in with Aang's crush. And he puts her on a pedestal from day one. And it is what it is.
The dynamic that we're seeing at the beginning is a caretaker and a person that needs to be taken care of. Let's just go character by character.
Okay.
We started Zuko. We can come back to Zuko. There's always a lot to talk about with Zuko.
There's always Zuko.
And Katara. We're on those two right now. Do we want to explore?
I mean, I could talk about Katara for 10 years because she's my favorite character. I love Katara so much. I am Team Katara all day, every day. I absolutely love her introduction to the series. She is immediately showing, like, both sides of her character being, you know, that motherly figure and that caretaking role, but also just being a bad bitch who's not going to take anybody's shit. And she's more powerful than anyone knows. She's just accidentally bursting icebergs open with her justified rage. It's beautiful, and I love her. And we learn just so much in those first 2 minutes about the character that she is and continues to be.
Yeah, it's really cool. Katara pretty much drives the plot for the entire first, like, we're going to call it one episode, even though it's technically two, because it's both The Boy in the Iceberg and The Avatar Returns. Yeah, it's a two-parter, and it's the beginning. Anyway, for the entire, like, first episode, Katara drives the plot. She's the one that finds Aang. She's the one that says, we need to go and get him. Like, okay, I guess those are the two main parts of the plot needs to be driven forward. Everything else is kind of dominoes after that, huh?
Yeah.
She brings him, you know, like, she finds Aang, she brings him to the village, and, you know, she introduces him to the village. Sokka wants to kick Aang out, and then Katara's like, I'm going with, and, you know, she only known him for like 24 hours, so there's something weird there. Let's give her credit. She has been stuck in this very small village for her whole life. She has waterbending, right? This aspect of her, this piece of her culture that she cannot cultivate and make stronger or do anything with because there's nobody around to teach her. For, like she literally has to travel a good chunk of the globe to reach anybody that can do that for her. And then somebody brand new, not just somebody brand new, an Airbender. The first Airbender we've seen in 100 years. shows up at her doorstep. So yeah, I mean, like, so there's a degree of like, you're just leaving with this. You've literally met this guy for like a day, and you're trying to leave with him. But there's also the whole like, this is your one and only opportunity to escape, grow, and like transform into more. And she's taking that. She's immediately saying, I'm going to take that. And that's saying something about her, right?
Yeah, it's not about Aang. I mean, listen, I think Katara is the main character. But that's not what I meant. Just, like, that decision isn't about, like, oh, I want to, like, keep hanging out with Aang. It's like, no, I have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go, like, follow my dream and my passion and be able to, like, grow into my true self. Mm-hmm. So, of course, she's jumping at it. Right.
And then, now that we've established all of that, there's the next part of it where Aang tells her, you can't just leave your family. You can't just leave your, like, you can't just go like that. I don't want to come between you and your family. And Katara ends up saying, okay, you can go. Like, she ends up agreeing and going back. And that's the other aspect of Katara's, like, entire personality, where she cares very much, very deeply about her family and friends and loved ones, to the point where she is willing to sacrifice things like a brand new future that's the future that she wants and deserves very deeply. She's willing to sacrifice it for her people. I mean, like, that's very big. That's very
yeah.
significant.
And I mean, we see over and over and over again how much not just her family, but her culture means to her. That's an integral part, like, just of her character arc. And it's, I don't know, it's just so exciting to see the little beginnings of all of these super important, super core aspects to these characters just shining through in the first couple episodes.
Yeah.
Sokka.
I mean, yes, we'll go to my favorite character, and then we'll go to Aang. Sokka is my favorite character. But, like, there's not too much to say about him right now. The biggest things that we can talk about with Sokka, I think, are, like, the huge weight that's on his like, shoulders right now, because he is the oldest man on like, in his village. But he also is very clearly sheltered. He's very obviously, like, he obviously does not know how to treat and react to women. He very obviously does not know, it's like his own limits, as far as, like, his ability to take on challenges. He just tried to fight Zuko straight up like 3 or 4 times. And really, I respect Zuko's restraint, because, like, he could have, and, like, if he wanted to murder Sokka in cold blood, the only person that he would have had to deal with about that later would have been Iroh. That's it.
I mean, that's a really important thing that we see established about Zuko's character multiple times in this episode. Like, he is the antagonist, and he is, like, you know, grumpy and angry. He's got a temper, and he's just overall an ass. But he is never particularly aggressive. He doesn't really, like, try to hurt people. He's on this mission.
Right. Zuko's not malicious.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. He only cares about getting this thing done, so that, like, you know, if he could have gotten, if he could have ended his exile by, like, baking a cake and giving it to the king of Ba Sing Se, he would have done it in a heartbeat. He just wants his father's love.
Yeah. Oh, backtracking to Sokka for a second. I think Sokka is a really good example of spoilers really improving your experience of these episodes and of that character, just because he's an annoying sexist jerk at first. And they really play that up in episode 1. It's important that, like, that he's pissing Katara off to start the entire plot of the show. But, like, it's so much easier to sit through knowing how much he grows.
Yeah, Sokka...
And knowing that that's, like... Just knowing that that's his, like, conditioning. And as soon as he is, like, introduced to, like, alternate points of view, like, he is a good person, and he doesn't, like, really stick with those misogynist beliefs.
Yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, no problem.
Sokka's actually kind of framed as, like, another antagonist at the beginning. He's the one that says Aang is, like, exiled? Banished. That's the word he uses.
Yep.
Aang's banished from his 20-person village. Like, Sokka didn't trust Aang, didn't believe anything Aang said, and was, highly suspicious to the point where it was more harmful than helpful. And that's another aspect of Sokka's personality, for one thing. But yeah, like, at the beginning, Sokka is not a particularly good or interesting character, and it doesn't help him, even for the next few episodes, that he's also the only character that, like, out of the main characters that cannot use any bending. They are very adamant in the beginning to say, not magic, bending.
Uh-huh.
Which is just cute to me.
Just silly.
But yeah, so, like, it's really significant that, like, if you've watched the whole show, Sokka gets to be one of those people where somebody else is like, fuck this guy, I don't like him at all. But then you're like, no, trust me, he's really good. I love Sokka. I think that he's a very, very competent leader. I think that he's a, like, very clever person. And I love the fact that he kind of found his own way to stand on equal footing with all of these people that are prodigies. All of them are prodigies. Every single Aang, Katara, Toph, Azula, Zuko, all prodigies. Zuko is a lower tier of prodigy than, like, Toph and Azula. But, like, Zuko also beats Commander Zhao multiple times in the first season. So, like, he is clearly no slouch. But, like, Sokka finds a way to stand on equal footing with them, kind of Batmaning it. And you gotta respect that. And, his actual character development begins with the Kyoshi Warriors.
Yeah.
Which we won't see until, like, episode 3 or 4, I think. Something like that. 4 or 5, because these first 2 are 1 and 2. Anyway. But.
Yeah. I think the only character left that we haven't really talked about that much is Iroh.
Aang?
Oof.
Aang.
I don't know. In my mind, we talked about Aang, but I guess not that much.
We only talked about his romance plot.
Oh, okay.
We did not really talk about Aang. I like Aang.
No, I also like Aang. You're making me feel bad that I forgot him. He's the main character. And I'm like, he's not important. No. But he is.
I mean, I think it's a testament to the show again that the side characters, they're also main characters. The characters that are not the protagonists, the main protagonists of the show, are all very interesting and compelling in very different ways from Aang, who also has his own thing that he's got to develop and learn. And right now, what he's doing is he's running from his problems. The first thing, he literally has a map of the world, and he's marked off all the, like, fun, silly things he wants to do. The very first thing he did when he woke up from a coma, 100-year coma, was, do you want to go penguin sledding with me? Not, hey, where's the bathroom? I'm hungry. What year is it? Who's the president? It was, let's go penguin sledding. And that Aang is very different from the Aang that we see in the last episode. The Aang who stands up to the Fire Lord.
Episodes 1 and 2, Aang is very much leaning into his childlike aspects and the carefree nature of his personality. Like, we get little glimpses into, how he can be more mature. He's got that, like, monk wisdom. And, he makes some really heavy decisions of accepting responsibility, specifically when he, like, gives himself up to save the village, like, without hesitation.
Yeah.
So, we do get to see that.
you know, he's wholesome. He's a good person, and that's not up for debate in the same way that it is for Zuko at the beginning, or Sokka. I think that's my last Aang note. So if you want to move on to Iroh, my favorite old man.
Now's probably a good time to bring up that Greg has an Avatar-themed tattoo.
Oh, shit. You're right.
It's on his back, so he forgets sometimes. But it's an Iroh quote, because he's one of the best characters in this show.
The Iroh quote's it's actually from Legend of Korra. Mm-hmm. But the quote is, sometimes the best way to solve your own problems is to help someone else. I loved that quote. I have it on my back. And it is framed by the koi fish. It's a very cheesy tattoo. I am sure you can imagine it now, but I love it.
Oh, it's pretty. It's not cheesy.
The concept itself, a little cheesy. It's fine. I like cheesy.
Okay.
The tattoo artist did a very good job, and I'm very proud of the way it came out.
So I brought that up, one, just because, like, fun fact, bit of a flex. It's really cool, in my opinion. And also because I too really like that quote, and I think it's a really good, just like, description of Iroh's character. It really gets down to the core of, like, his motivation and his goals throughout the entire series.
That's very true.
And it's, again, like we've said over and over again, this is something that we are seeing in episode 1 that just gets built upon. Yeah.
That's very true. Like, you know, Iroh, I mean, I remember when I was first watching Avatar, I had no idea what the point of Iroh was. I was like, I guess he's there. Like, I guess he's there with Zuko, but, like, I don't know. Like, does he have to be there? Did Iroh get exiled also? Doesn't seem like it. And he wasn't, like, at least not at first. We don't know. Maybe Ozai was like, you know, while I'm at it, that guy who could have had the throne, that guy's out too. Makes sense. Ozai would do that. But, like, it's more believable that Iroh willingly went with his nephew, who just got exiled and burned by his father. Not in that order. And he says, the thing that I want to do, the thing that I am compelled to do, is help the people around me, the people that I love. And I know that Zuko is lost and afraid and alone, and he doesn't have to be. And so, like, you know, and sometimes that aid is manifested in Iroh just spitting straight facts. Hey, Zuko, the Avatar hasn't been seen in 100 years. You're not finding him. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. But other times it's simply him saying, would you like some tea to calm down?
No, I don't need any fucking calming tea.
And, you know, Iroh should know by now.
Get a hint, old man.
Iroh should know by now telling a teenager to calm down, telling anyone to calm down just doesn't work. But still. And then, you know, also the teaching Zuko the fundamentals over and over and over again. You have not mastered these fundamentals. Learn these before you move on to the advanced set. And then Zuko's like, you will teach me the advanced set. Talking to his uncle like he's a subordinate, but whatever. Iroh's so patient.
Extremely patient. He's extremely humble. Side note, I really love how Iroh calls Zuko Prince Zuko. Every time. Always refers to him with his title. Even when they are, like, extra banished in hiding.
Oh, wait, does he? Even then?
Like, you know, not in front of people.
Oh, like, I didn't know that, though.
I mean, now I'm doubting myself a little bit. But, like, I am fairly confident that he always refers to him as Prince Zuko. I mean, at least most of the time as a general rule.
I believe you.
And I just really love that tidbit. Mm-hmm. I just think it is really sweet. And it's just his weird Iroh way of trying to, like, help Zuko maintain, like, dignity and self-worth and a sense of self. Because, you know, we know, Iroh knows, Zuko doesn't yet know, that all of this is just because he's, like, sad and insecure and lashing out.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, I don't know, I find it really heartwarming when he makes sure to remind him that he's a prince.
Yeah, you just that never occurred to me. I never thought about it like that. But it's a huge thing, especially to Zuko, a character who is driven at least 95% right now by ego. That's not true. He really wants his father's love. That's kind of the big thing. But there's a lot of Zuko's identity is kind of trapped in this idea of I am the heir to the throne. That is who I am. That is my destiny. And he says, I've lost my honor through something that is my fault. It's not his fault. Right. His entire identity is framed in like this whole thing. Like it is my fault. But once I regain my honor, I'm back at it. And Iroh basically says, you never lost it. You are still the prince. You have always been the prince. Mm-hmm. You dropped this, king.
Oh, no. Do you have any final thoughts? Any little favorite moments you wanna mention that we haven't gotten to, or
the thing is, the biggest, most interesting part of seeing the beginning after you've watched the end is kind of seeing the contrast between the two. Mm-hmm. And so, like, we get to see kind of where everyone started and think about where they're all going to end up. And some of them go much further than others. Zuko has a complete transformation. Mm-hmm. Katara grows a lot. She flourishes. Iroh kind of maintains a steady pace, but at the end of the day, he ends up becoming a different kind of hero to more people.
Yeah, it's really nice to see both how different they were, but also be able to pick up on which pieces of those characters are kind of their, like, core personalities and what defines them. Because, it does a pretty good job, the show on its own, like, letting you know that, but also we now have the context going into it with spoilers to know kind of what falls away, and it's just so, like, exciting, and there's so much to look forward to. So on that note, we do not yet have a schedule for how often we're going to post these episodes.
Barely have a plan.
We plan on going mostly one episode at a time, except for some rare occasions like this one where we think 2 episodes just can't be separated.
We'll basically go with how Nickelodeon treated it. Like, The Day of Black Sun was 2 episodes, but we're going to treat it like 1, right? With some exceptions.
Yep. We'll figure it out.
Uh-oh. I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble.
Greg is dead.
God.
DED.
All that just to say, next time we'll be talking about Season 1, Episode 3.
By herself.
And we hope...
Oh, no!
I'm sorry. We hope to see you then.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.